Big boy on the rails. Hello everybody and welcome back to Old, Frail and Decrepit. Today we're going to look at the exciting world of Marx Cabooses. Now this video was suggested some months ago by one of my viewers, and I thought, a video about cabooses? That might be pretty dull. But the more I thought about it, I thought, well, that actually kind of fits, doesn't it? We've looked at a lot of other different types of things, but we should look at cabooses. In this video, we're going to look at Marx Cabooses. Now, they come in really profile-wise, not very many different choices, but they got a pretty good choice of colors and road names. And then, of course, as usual, we're going to run some trains at the end of the video. So thanks for watching. So just how common are some of the Marx Cabooses? I have never searched out and bought one of these. They've all come with other items that I was looking for, and yet here I've got, well, these are just the ones that aren't in my for sale box, and this isn't counting the ones that I've stripped out and cut up for parts. But you kind of get an idea just how many of these there are around. Now, in making this video, I noticed something. This is unique of all these two-tone New York Central cabooses that I had. Now, I didn't notice until I was editing this that this caboose was different. Do you see the difference? Okay, I'm not going to be a jerk and make you pick it out yourself. Take a look at the cupola, the litho windows. If you were to look at that design for the side windows, they match a very early version of that. In fact, you find that same pattern clear back to the Joyline era. And then you find Marx changed the design to the larger windows. Now, I checked to see, and it doesn't look like that cupola was changed, but this is something that is kind of a Marx hallmark. If Marx got the parts laying around, they're going to use it. Now, we don't know the history of this particular piece. We do know that it's not an early one, because it does have the plastic knuckle coupler, and it doesn't look like it was ever changed out. So, just an oddity that I noticed. So when you're going through your Marx and you see something that looks a little different, you're probably right. It might be just that Marx had some left over and put them all together. Of course, if you look through my collection pretty closely, you'll find a bunch that I've mixed and matched for things that I've liked. I've done that on these here, where I've had a few that didn't have the ladder and the fence at the back of the caboose that I've added it to because it was a caboose I wanted to keep. So just an oddity that I noticed along the way. Now here are some more Marx 6-inch cabooses. This one actually was a late Joyline, early Marx. As you can see, it still has the Joyline coupler, the litho short frame. The wheels are very close together on these, but I've got two of these, and I converted them to having Marx couplers on them also, so I could run them with a Marx, later Marx set. This is probably the second most common of the 6-inch, and this is the 55 or 556, and it's all red. It's New York Central. Then you've got the Union Pacific. Now, in almost every case that I've seen, these are for the wind-up set. Most of the ones I have came with these retractable couplers, which you find on your wind-up sets, and most of them came with plastic wheels. Well, I've changed them all over to metal wheels. I guess I just like the noise. These next three I consider to be very, very nicely done. You've got the Seaboard set, which this one came set up for a wind-up set. A lot of the Seaboard sets were wind-up. This one here is the Kansas City Southern. If you've watched my videos, you've seen this already in a previous video. I just love that Kansas City Southern paint scheme. And this is the latest one that I got. In fact, this is the one that I waited to make this video for a few weeks because I wanted for this one to get in. I finally found this I had to buy a total of 7 cabooses in a lot to get this one. But I do have it now, and from time to time we're going to see that in future videos. But you can see it does have the plastic knuckle coupler. So if you're looking for variety in 6-inch tin, Marx has got it. Now this one here is probably going to be the hardest to find. I just happened to run across it. So when you find yourself in possession of a bunch of these really common Marx Cabooses, here's a little idea of something you could do. These are a set of cars that someone far more talented than myself customized. They cut new windows in them. They welded on extensions onto the roofs. The only thing I did to these was painted them up. But you can see they make a nice looking little set. This one in particular, they even made themselves some doors. The doors open, though they don't open very well. But there's just another idea to do with all those loads of extra cabooses. And while we're on the subject of customized cabooses, here's a little one that I picked up at a train show or a train store. Somebody had taken one of the Marx scale cabooses, had painted it all up for the Richmond and Fredericksburg, whatever that, I don't even think. Let's see, what's it say here? Let's see if the other side's got better decals on it. Yeah, I don't even know what that railroad is, but they did a beautiful job, and I've actually seen some other people that have customized pieces for that railroad. But they did a nice job, and even though the decals are popping off now, it still looks pretty good. Now this is one that I customized myself. Now what makes it so good this one I put a pickup and lights into. It seemed like a natural, because when Marx built these, they put the little opaque window coverings in them so that it just looked like it was just perfect for a lighted caboose. Here is another one that I did myself. This started out as a 7-inch 4-wheel. And when I put my Lionel pacemaker cars together, I didn't have a caboose for them. So I made this one up. Now it has the Marx couplers on it. And I cut off the fake truck that hung down from the frame, put a bolt up through, nut and bolt, to hold the Marx coupler or the Marx truck to the body. So that ended up turning out pretty good. But I thought, you know what, that's fine, but could I do better? So I had an extra Marx or Lionel Scout frame from a caboose. The body was demolished. So I fitted that Marx body onto it. Same sort of way, a nut and bolt through the bottom. And this, because the Scout coupler isn't compatible with Lionel, I trimmed it down. I stole that idea from somebody, and sorry I don't remember the man's name who I stole it from, but I've done this to several of them just so I could run my Scout cars with the regular Lionel. And you just trim down the outside piece of that thick finger, and then the little tooth that reaches over, trim that back a little bit, and it works. Now I don't know why I didn't bother to trim that little finger that hangs down, but oh well, it's not hurting anything. But I can run that right directly with my Lionel cars. A couple of Christmases ago, I wanted kind of a sparkly locomotive, tender, and caboose. So I took one of these very common cabooses and painted it up. Now it came out kind of thin, so you can still see the original New York Central markings, but it does look very good, especially under the lights of a Christmas light. Now here's one of the stranger customs that I've ever come across. Looks like a plain old kind of middle-age Marx 6-inch tin, but somebody did a customization on it. I don't even remember where I picked this one up, but this kind of fits for those of you who've got pre-war Lionel and you'd like to be able to run it with your other things. What they did was they took a nondescript, looks like almost like a luggage key, bolted it to a pre-war hook and latch, and there you have a combination car, well, or a adapting car or whatever, but it does work. And You can put your marks with your pre-war. When Marx came out with their scale line, they came out with two cabooses. They had the Rarity, which is a very good looking one. I've always thought this one would look really good if I had hook it up to lights. And then this New York Central in the two-tone. And always thought these were just such a nice looking caboose, and they do look so good with those scale cars. Now in around 1950, Marx's competitor, Unique Art, came out with their trains. And Marx thought, you know what? We're going to come up with something that's going to go straight up against them. So he came up with these 7-inch cars. And as you can see, that's a very good looking caboose there. Now, I don't have all of the 7-inch variations that they had for these. But you had the Baltimore and Ohio, the Southern Pacific, and the New York Central Pacemaker. Now I've converted this one to 8-wheel, but it started out as a 4-wheel like these other three. And a little later on, they took those same 7-inch cars and they put them on 8-wheel trucks. This one here is the ATNSF. I don't know that they ever made this in the 4-wheel, but I've got 2 of them in the 8-wheel version. One more of those 7-inch car options was this nickel plate road, which I've picked up a couple of these in the last couple of years, and they are a very good looking car. And if you ever need to know just how bad does a car need to be a candidate for a customization, we can look at this car right here. I just picked this up with a lot of cabooses. This side don't look too bad, does it? Yep, that one definitely looks like a candidate for a customization. Now we'll have a look at Marx plastic cabooses. Now this was from a deluxe set. I had to replace one of the trucks in the front because it was busted off. As you can see, the overhang here is busted off. But it's the only one of that type I've gotten so far. But that would have been in your better sets. And this here is the Kansas City Southern. Now you can see the chimney is busted off on this one. This is my only Rock Island one. As you can see, this was my answer to a broken front roof. And it has the tall chimney on it. See, not all of my cabooses are broken, even though those first 3 were. This here, this is a short chimney. And this is an unbroken version of this. Now here's the Southern Pacific with the tall chimney. And a little farther back, we'll see the green version of that same thing. Here's the Lehigh Valley with the short chimney. Tall chimney here, New York Central. There's our green Southern Pacific. And a red, you know, I probably should put those all together, shouldn't I? The nice thing about these tilt couplers, they do go together really nice. So there we go. Now we got all three of the Southern Pacifics together. Then we come to one of the more popular versions, which is the Army one. I don't actually have an Army set. I got this separately out of a box of train parts. Then I've got these three here. This is a New York Central pacemaker in the yellow and in the white. And then you've got the pacemaker for the Penn Central, which, if you're familiar with the history of the Penn Central, they had to hurry up and get that made quick before they folded up. Then there's the regular Penn Central in the green. I had a time where I was getting these very, very frequently because these came with the work train, and I had several of them at one time. Now you've got the ATSF. This striped New York Central is one of the first plastic ones that I picked up. You can see the roof is somewhat broken here. I've smoothed that out a little bit. But it started out, it was a 4-wheel caboose. And I had another caboose with a broken body. So I trimmed off the fake trucks off the side and put the bolt up through on the, well, actually this one didn't even have a frame, so I took the whole frame off the broken one, trimmed those off and put it down in there. I'll show you on another 4-wheel one that I've got loose here, just how adaptable these things are. This is a Union Pacific. And this here is the only bay window caboose that I have for these Marx. You can see it still has the aerial on the top. Now, we're going to look at these last two of this style. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. This is a late production Marx caboose. It's a short chimney. Nope, it's not a short chimney, it's a broken chimney. But how much? But this one here, when I first got it, it had the plastic wheels and axles, but it did have the tab and slot coupler on it. So that's what they were starting to look like toward the end. And after Marx was done and the molds were sent off to Mexico, you got things like this. Unpainted, marked as Rock Island. And there's what the one-piece wheel and axle in plastic would have looked like. So we've got two more left to look at here of these plastic cabooses, and that is the work cabooses. We've got that one in the Atchison Topeka, and that's got the deluxe trucks on it. This here has the cheaper trucks, just stamped steel. But if you've got a crane, these are nice to run with that. Now, if you ever have an interest in converting one of these to an 8 wheel, you'll notice that the hole is still in the front for the screw that goes into the frame. And in the back, you can see the 2 slots for the tabs that stick out of the frame. Now, I just watched a video of a man converting one of these, but I'll just tell you what I do with them. Take the wheels off. The little tab here that holds the coupler in place, just take side cutters and snap that off. And then these fake trucks here, see where there's a little gap there between the top of the detail and the bottom row of rivets? Just score that 7 or 8 times with an X-Acto knife from this side, and then just gently push down and it'll snap right off. I've done that on several. Then you take the frame off of one of this type of caboose here, slide it right into place, put the screw through it, and you got an 8-wheel caboose. And in this case, I'd even have an extra set of wheels and tab and slot coupler.